So, with the creation of the soul, obviously there was a attainment possibility, but the attainment was presented in such a way that it could only be attained through going through Earth. Now, since everybody knew that everybody came from planets, it was quite common sense. You go through Earth, from which you arise, and from that you attain, and you get an eternal body, the soul. It became thus the sole purpose of everyone to do that. Now, what was another point that was interesting, as it was researched, obviously, by the time this was ready to be implemented, what did they already know? They could impulse the reality of Earth, which was a sound reality, by creating a timeline. Now, in terms of time, in our reality as it exists, time is really actually moving. So what they would do is, the point was what? An entry level and an attainment level. For everybody, it was said that your attainment would be you become a soul. What was not said is more important, is that you will only be able to become a soul if you submit to the Creator gods for eternity. Which would mean, because at that stage they've already found out something interesting, they need a continuous supply of this energy to be able to maintain their reality. So they obviously need beings continuously attaining or trying to become souls, and then from there supporting the whole system. We have touched a little bit on all the various civilizations that was existent in the universe, and some of them obviously had particular skills, some which was utilized specifically in the creation of systems interdimensionally, which was found to have an effect on sound, on the physicality of Earth. So, just in brief, I'm at this stage going to explain to you how some of the points came about. So what they then did is they created an interactive timeline of events that would move in waves of polarity, up and down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, which means you'll have a creative point and then a destructive point, then a creative point, then a destructive point, and that would be aligned with another being. So you have a male, female, you have two moving together, which then cause an interactive timeline, which is the way DNA is represented. Within that timeline, that line of movement, which is in the timeline that is presented, embedded, ingrained, and gridded, in that grid you have now your DNA that activates according to the timeline that unfolds. So if you look at it moving, your life would be layered in the movement of time, which is according to your movement. You establish that movement is as you move in your life. You come, you meet a person, you touch the person. At that touch, an energetic event takes place. It moves your timeline forward, and the next point in your existence unfolds, which will always start, if it is something that is particularly there to get you to submission, it will always start with a high note, something good. And it will take you to the pinnacle of that, and then it's removed, and then you fall to the bottom. And every time you fall to the bottom of this line, as you move through your lives, life after life, you will accept less and less. And you will compromise and say, okay, but I want to get back there. And then trying to get back there, the message will be, but you can only get back there if you give this up. And so you start to give up things. Things about yourself. And you start to leave it behind in this timeline, which is similar to having it saved as a memory within a hard drive. And as you leave it behind, by the time you get to death, have a look at an old person, what's left. They're completely drained through their experiences. Have they become a better being, something more? When were they anybody being their best? When they were young, full of energy, hope, and ready for this whole process. But that means they should have become better. They're evolving. What happens? They become less. And what do they honor? This point where the old one is at the least is the point that's honored. That automatically imprints on the young. So now the person moves through this program timeline that presents itself as encoded symbolic information which is currently measured as DNA. And it moves through the spiraling effect as a Fibonacci spiral within a sequence of events which is based on a high experience and a low experience, with the low experience being the bad and the high the good, so that you will always, when you are in the bad, you will move to the good. And therefore you keep on moving yourself through this. Because automatically when you get to the bad, what do you want to do? Get to the good, and you climb the next mountain. And the mountains has even become symbolic, wonderful achievements that is spiritual and religious in nature. And therefore you aspire to get to your next mountain. With what are you not realizing? As you continue to have a look, it happens in spirituality. You give up more and more and more of yourself, and in that you're apparently becoming a master. It said you're mastering yourself. You have to give up everything. Once you give up everything, then you're a master. You're no longer controlled by the physical. What have you completed? You have completed your application of you into eternal damnation. Extremely well done. This was so well done that you are so consumed by living this process, and the hope that you are special, you are divine, you are looked after by God, you're going to get through this, that you do not realize that slowly but surely you're losing it. So, all that was required within this was a history that would always go to the worst case scenario. If you look back at our history, what happens? And also, always, any person that stands up and takes on reality always gets annihilated. And those that give up everything of themselves and become masters, they are the ones that is aspired to, and is those that will lead you to your eternal soul. Now have a look, your timeline takes on what? The symbolism of a path. You are seeking your path that works for you, and within that you accept in your path there's going to be ups and downs. And these ups and downs is going to be the things that's going to make you a better person. Go look at the old people. How good are they? They can barely speak their names. They're a better person, isn't it? They can barely remember anything. They can barely wipe their own asses. Oh, they've become a better person. Now they're going to die and get their soul. What they didn't know, obviously, is that the soul was energetically programmable by the same symbolism. So that the moment you die, somebody meet you and remove your energetic memories that you have left behind and place it in the Akashic record.